You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with a special edition episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. The following is a parody. Not to be taken seriously, it is all jokes. Where all my scamming ass electeds at? Spending that money fast, 20s, 50s, 100s cash. Yo, go in that taxpayer bag, boosting mayors where y'all at. Stuffing that shit in y'all bag just to flip it, pop some tags. May it go in that taxpayer bag, spin that shit, spin that shit, spin that shit, spin that shit. May it spin that shit, spin that shit, spin that shit. May it spin that shit. Parody over. Okay. What the hell is going on? What is going on, Philadelphia? I don't understand. Like, this is like a Greek comedy, like Greek tragedy, like it's comedic, dark, bizarre. What the fuck? It is like 2:35 a.m. July 5th. And as I'm recording this special edition episode, the fireworks are finally going off in the city of Philadelphia because we are on CPT Sherelle Parker time. I don't know what the CPT y'all thought I was talking about. We're on Sherelle Parker time. And one could argue, to be fair, it could be Mother Nature, because Mother Nature, did its thing. We got to unpack this. We got to unpack this. And, for those who are regular listeners of my podcast, Ernestly Speaking, you all know that this is my mid-year, break. I was not supposed to do a podcast episode during this break because I was supposed to be celebrating 4th of Jamarcus, which I did. My bestie birthday's on the 4th of July, and I don't record twice a year. This time at the end of the year, just to give that 1 week break. So the season 11 premiere is Monday, July 13th. I am not doing a regular episodic episode because this is the gap between season 10 and season 11. However, I told you all that if something crazy happened, you will get a special edition episode. And I knew, and you all did too, that this concert was not going to go off without a hitch. Like, it wasn't. The One Philly Unity Concert for America, like, I just knew that this was going to be a hot ass mess on so many different levels. I knew it. And I kept it to myself. I really did. I was just like, stuff is not looking right. Things are weird. And listen, let me just start by putting my disclaimers out there. If you are a political stan, if you are a sycophant for city council, city hall, elected officials, if you are a beneficiary of drop, and you support Mayor spending that shit, just go ahead and don't listen to this episode. Please don't. I want you to know. Don't hate listen and then be in your feelings. I just want you to know this is the part of the show where you should just, say, you know what? I don't like his ass. Oh, negative Nancy. Oh, Debbie Downer. Fuck him. I don't like him. Good. You can turn off right now, because you're not gonna like what I'm about to say for the rest of this episode, because it's just a little bit more nuanced. And I know a lot of y'all like to think I'm too, and I get it. Stand for your fave. This is not the episode for you. So you can come back July 13th and listen to the season 11 premiere of Ernestly Speaking. And then, whatever. But I want y'all to know that up front. This is not that kind of show. So if you looking for something, I don't know what you're looking for, but if you a stan for your fave, don't even listen to this, because this is not that show. Okay, I put the disclaimer out, so now let's get into it. For those who still have cared to listen, including the ones who say, I can hold it, while grabbing something tight and balling up their fist and gristling their teeth and in their feelings and ready to write a diatribe for a group chat. I don't know. But I'm up. I'm up. The firecrackers got me up. Everything got me up. I'm up. I'm up. If I'm up, you up. So let's go. So I don't know if it was just me, but I think we were all paying close attention to the weather this week. And I grew up in the South. I've lived in Philadelphia for 16 years. I am a Philadelphian, but I grew up in Houston, Texas. I was born in Chicago, grew up in Houston, know my weather. And, science tells you that when it's really hot, when there's a hot amount, there's a heated temperatures, when temperatures are rising at an excruciating level, okay, and it's very, very hot, eventually there's going to be a downpour of rain. There's going to even be, flooding, tornadoes, all kinds of stuff, because weather, that's how it works. That's, I can go into a whole scientific analysis, but anytime it's super, super hot, there will be rain coming following that, all that heat, because we got to cool off some way or the other. And so throughout this entire week leading up to July 4th, we knew that it was hot. It was hot. It was hot. It was hot. It was record-breaking temperature. I mean, this was Houston level heat. And I grew up in Houston level heat. So I know how to prepare myself. Let me tell you how I prepare myself. I don't go outside under any circumstances. I don't. I am fortunate enough to live in a central air-conditioned location. Grateful for that. I have plenty of water. I kept my ass in the house. I did not really go outside. I went to a cookout on July 4th. Good friend of mine. We was indoors most of the time. Stepped out when it was a little night to peep out and do a little cute little rooftop picture. Got my ass back in the house. But for most of the time, I stayed indoors. I stayed hydrated as much as possible. A lot was going on in Philly. It was hot. Things are being canceled. They canceled the parade. The 250 parade or what have you got canceled because of the heat early in the morning. Prior to that, it was just hot. It was a lot of heat, and things were being canceled, or shut down early because of the heat. I think the FIFA Fan Festival got closed. This is responsible, by the way. This is responsible behavior because we're not playing. And there were, premeditative steps, proactive steps to prevent situations that can go crazy. This concert, which we'll get into the details of the concert, but this concert in particular, everybody knew coming up to Saturday that this was going to be a clusterfuck weather-wise. Like, there was going to be a storm. There was going to be rain. And it was going to happen during the concert. Like, everybody knew. Like, no, this was the most, clear. Like, throughout the entire week, meteorologists were saying, hey, watch out Saturday night. For days. And it made sense. The hotter it was getting, you knew it was going to be something. It was also super hot, like over 100 degrees. So that was already a lot. Everything else was closing early, getting prepared. Everybody knew how hot it was. The first part of the festival, super hot, as expected. The city put out some hydration stations, said, look, we're going to have a couple of these. We're going to have some mist. Okay. You can bring a water bottle. We can refill. All this for a free concert. Okay. The beginning of the concert, there was Seal, there was this country artist, Shapiro, Governor Josh Shapiro came out, the mayor came out. It was aight. The energy was low reportedly. I wasn't the one who reported it. Several outlets reported it, people on the ground. Energy wasn't so lit because it was hot. It was a lot of stuff going on. Several people who was attending the concert, trying to go to the concert, was, giving me notes, sending me messages. telling me various things. And I was following things. I said, listen, be safe, drink water, put some sunscreen on, all the things. I just really was trying to stay out of the chaos. There are people posting complaints. Someone said, like, we were carrying, quote, we were walking for 15 minutes, carrying chairs and a bag with food. And when we entered, we were banned from everything. We had to stay outside and return home without being able to enter. So many more families had this experience, apparently. Someone said it should be noted that they were turning people away at the entry gates if they have any bag that is not clear or transparent. Even small clutches, fanny packs, purses, even though online it says those are okay to bring, citing venue rule changes. So there was some communication issues going on apparently with people who came and braved the heat to go to the concert. A lot of families said that they were turned down from going. It was a lot going on apparently out there, and I was getting several of followers and listeners that were messaging me in real time, and I couldn't really address all of those things because I wasn't there. I wasn't in contact with the city, and it can get hard, because I was really trying to enjoy, you know, my time. I was trying to enjoy 4th of July because I was trying to enjoy my best friend's birthday. I was really trying to, I don't really celebrate the 4th of July in the patriotic way like that, to be honest, and the 250 and all that's going on in this country. That wasn't my thing. I was celebrating my friend's birthday. I really was trying to like stay off the internet. And I, for the most part, did. I really wasn't on there for the most part. And then y'all know when it got a little dark out, everything got crazy. But throughout the day, I was really just chill because throughout the week, something in my gut kept telling me that July 4th was going to be a clusterfuck on so many different levels, logistically, all the things. And there was this illusion. And it wasn't just Philly. I mean, DC, like the ancestors did not really want, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I don't think the ancestors really wanted 4th of July to go off without a hitch. Like, I think at 250, I felt like there was a sense of like, we need to wake up. Like, we need to wake up as a country. We need to wake up in all aspects. Like, it was not just issues happening in Philadelphia, but did y'all hear about DC? Like 5,000 people was in a National African American Museum at shelter. And many of those people were Trump supporters, but they had to go into a museum of Black history to be protected. Metaphor. Like, interesting. There's a lot of interesting things that happened this weekend, just that I've observed. Like, for starters, Jill Scott, which many of us felt like should have been the headliner for the concert, but Christina Aguilera was. Well, Christina Aguilera did not perform, y'all, because of the weather. And Jill Scott performed when everything was still good. And then when the weather got crazy, when her set finished, the whole concert shifted. It's almost as if, I don't know, like Jill Scott was the headliner. Jill Scott was supposed to be, this was supposed to be a Philly concert. And the main act, in my opinion, that really was the star of the show before things went chaotic was Jill Scott. Just an interesting observation. Just interesting. That when it was all said and done, Christina Aguilera, global pop superstar Christina Aguilera did not perform. And it's not because she was bad or anything. It's just that, I mean, clearly, pop divas, she wanted to have the stage and she wanted to have her. It wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. So it's very interesting. And I was like, Christina on a run. She performed at the Obama Presidential Center. She performed there for President Obama. And then look, I'm thinking she's going to hit Philadelphia. It didn't happen. And so many people kept saying Jill should have been the headliner. And in so many weird ways and bizarre ways, she kind of was. Like, she was literally like Wanda Sykes. It's interesting. Like, they were literally at the beginning of the show before everything went left. Interesting. But it was a lot going on in preparation. I mean, the city kept trying their hardest to encourage folks. The crowds were steady in the beginning. Tonight, it got a lot different for various reasons. We'll get to that. But it was just already just a lot going on, just a lot of hype. And then the weather happened. And I had gotten word that Christina was, with everything going on, Christina wasn't down. Normally, this, for those who was in Philly, it was like thundering, it was lightning, the rain was raining, and it was chaotic for a couple of hours. And if this was a traditional concert, like a Wow Wow Welcome America, traditionally, if they took over the concert, or they own, they normally do, but if Wow Wow was running this concert, they would have just ended the concert. They would have ended it. Just because they like, look, we situation is what it is. We can't keep it past a certain time at night. Like, they just would have ended the show. They typically, the show go on till rain, but when it's lighting, it's like, okay, we got to wrap it up. People know. I've been in Philadelphia for over a decade and a half at this point. That typically how it is. Rain do happen, weather do happen. Rain has happened at Dinner and Blanc, at times. I remember when I went to Dinner and Blanc, I don't go anymore, but I went 2 times. And one year that I went, it rained. This was like maybe 10 years ago. It rained really bad. And some people kind of stayed, and other people was like, I'm ready to go. But when it's lightning, that's a very big risk. That's risky. You don't really play with lightning. In any other circumstance, when it gets wild like that, you just cancel the show. Why did the city stay? We'll get to that in a minute. But why? Because this was an unusual concert. This was an unusual situation. This is a situation where ego and audacity and chaos shaped decisions that I think will leave people with a what the fuck. Supporters and stands will go, look, Philly, we turned it around. But it was like, but was this the mess we made to begin with? I digress. But I had gotten word that Christina wasn't going to perform. The show was getting super, super late. And that there was this concern around turnaround, like what to do with the main act. There were people working at the concert on the ground that was telling certain acts to stay their asses in their tents and whatever, because there was contracts and there was money, and that contract was contracted, and in certain cases, certain people had those obligations. And so there was a situation where I think it was like Meek Mill was in his hotel. He was in his hotel. Will was in his hotel. There was like a lot of confusion on who was going to stay, where people was going to go. I heard from sources that Meek Mill was planning to have like an after party, situation. I don't know if he still is doing it after 2 a.m., but initially the way the concert rollout was, there was supposed to be some after party happening for him, and he was going to do his thing in Philly. So there was a lot of plans that kind of got moved based on how this concert all played out. And so the city said it was a delay. Other people close to it was like looking like there were some acts canceling, which would have given the impression that in a traditional normal setting, this show was not going to happen. And if it was Wawa, this show would have not happened. Why did the city of Philadelphia keep it happen? A number, $15.5 million and counting. Let's be clear, and counting. And we'll get to the and counting. So, about a month and a couple of weeks ago, in May, late May, I had shared details about the fact that the city of Philadelphia had completely taken over the 4th of July concert. And that this was a move that privately frustrated folks at Wow Welcome America. Okay? I know folks deep in the mix. And there's been tension throughout this entire couple of weeks based on this. Even this past week, petty things and communications and messaging and who's canceling what, who's announcing what. It was a lot of things behind the scenes going on. And there was a lot of dirt being slung out privately between both clashing parties, the city and Wow Welcome America. There was people from both sides that were not saying very nice things about the other. And, in this media world, things circulate. And you can see the way that people talk and who leaks what and who shares what. I'm not going to share names. That's not what I do. If someone says something's on background, it's on background, right? If someone says something's off the record, it's not even being discussed. But there was a lot of tension, I can say, that was happening behind the scenes between these two entities. And at the end of the day, the mayor, this is her concert. That's what one of her, deputy mayors said. It's the mayor's concert. It's her concert. Her concert. This is her concert. She wants to, give something to the city. So much that her campaign slogan is entrenched in the slogan and title of the concert. Let them eat cake. It's a lot of let them eat cake moments this weekend. But One Philly, a united city, a united America, she's added new extensions on this. I remember during the campaign, it was One Philly United City. Then all of a sudden it became One Philly United City and One United America, One America. It got real cult-like, put your ones in the air, the grand. It's feeling a little cultish. It's a little cultish. No, it's one thing to give a chant, but we gotta give a chant, a physical gesture, one unison. Like, I don't know any. It's getting a little weird, for me at least. But everybody has their own style. It's getting a little forced, but I digress. The concert, $250. The mayor says she wants to invest in what was supposed to be this magical moment for the city, put the city for the world to see, invest. So initially in March of this year, it was $10 million. $10 million was the initial contract. That's what initially was. It was $10 million. Then it got extended to another $5 million. And that increased the number. And then once that happened, we got to 15 million. So it increased. And the company is ESM Productions. They've previously done Made in America. They previously have done other things for the city. I think the New Year's party, they was a part of productions for that. They are the ones who put on this big production. I'm here to share some tea. I heard about the contract. I didn't have my hands on the contract. I did not have my hands on the physical contract, but I was aware of the number. And sources had told me that it was around 15 million. I would have revealed that number, but because I did not see the actual contract, I didn't feel comfortable putting an amount out there. But for quite some time, I knew that the city paid for it. I knew that it was taxpayers' dollars, and that I could confirm. The Philadelphia Inquirer actually got a hold of the actual contract and was able to confirm the number. And for those who listen to this podcast on a regular basis, I've been covering this every week since like late May. So there's been a lot of details that I have gotten into, who, what, where, and all that. I'm not going to do all that recap here, but just want people to know that my Instagram is an extension of my reporting. It is not all of my reporting. I do a lot of deep dives on the show for those who listen regularly, but Instagram is more like the Snapchat, here a couple of quick notes, and then, people read and do their thing. But knew about the number for quite some time, did not actually see the contract. So I didn't feel comfortable, because normally what I try to do, if I get a contract or something like physical or whatever, I will show it, let you all see it, because it's, listen, at this point, it is what it is, right? But in this case, I did not have the actual contract, but I did have several people give me a figure. And that initially I got 10 million. And then there was an amendment added to the contract that added another 5 million to make it 15.5 million. So, I've been following this. Heard about this story in the Inquirer. That was going to go deep into all the politics and things of that nature. Put this heads up out there. Did not realize that at that time, the park administration had not yet spoken to the Inquirer, but there was a lot of hesitancy and skepticism around whether or not they should do the interview or not. And they decided to do the interview, and then the story got a lot more messier. I'm not going to speculate who tipped off the Inquirer with that information. But I think what I can say is that it's obvious that there are people in the park administration or partners that partner with the park administration that do not agree with what they're doing. And in many ways, I think the attempt was to sabotage some of the momentum leading up to the concert. Again, I didn't leak it. I didn't know. I don't talk to the Inquirer. You know how I feel about them. I didn't do it because why would I? It's like, why would I tip off another publication? But there's people that have lied on my name, and so I like to clear things up. It's not me at all. But I will say that there are people who did not agree with this concert, who have every reason to be frustrated and upset about contracts and dealings, and in so many ways that spilled out. So there's a lot going on in park administration. You got a situation where a city representative, big bombshell story comes out about her accepting a drop payment to retire for one day, only to get hired by the park administration, get a $4,000 bonus, raise, and then get paid $199,000 for a new position, even though they took a drop payment to suggest they were retiring. And then, mind you, they get extended. The mayor makes it a point to extend their retirement, their drop year, whatever, an extra year with a 20% boost. So, yeah. Illegal? No. Unethical? Yeah. Yeah. So you got a city representative, Giselle Jones, who, let me just say, to me, has been nice to me. I don't have a personal issue with her. I'm just reporting the news. Married to city council member Curtis Jones Jr. They're now the Philly power couple that could potentially get over $700,000 in drop payments. So you have a story like this that's hovering. The city representative is a part of these big events for the city. So you got somebody who's accepting drop payments, still working, and that's a bombshell out. You got a concert that used to be largely funded and supported by outside sponsors, now being taken over by the city, with a mayor who wants to use her campaign slogan to brand this concert that's costing taxpayers, because free isn't free. But I digress. You have all of that taking place, and everybody's supposed to go, okay. Everybody's supposed to go, okay. So we get into this point where the concert cannot be canceled, regardless of whether or not Christina wants to do it, which she did not, because if they don't do this concert, the city's fucked. 15.5 million in counting. And I say in counting because we do not know how much, it's going to cost the sanitation workers. We don't know how much it's going to cost for policing and security and all of that also gets, added to the cost. We don't know. We don't know how much that additional is going to cost. But I will say this. The fact that the city had to extend time to do this concert, extend staff, services, and all those other things, you best believe that that costed additional money. Like, nobody did all that extra for free or for the contract they had. Oh, trust and believe, production, all these other things were extended to make sure this concert happened. So I don't want to bet, but I would argue that we're probably over $20 million. I could see a case for us being over $20 million or close to it, but we're not at 15.5 because if you got to add already, let's be clear, 15.5 million is for ESM. That's just for them and their production. And that's only based off of what they're, if this was to go on without a hitch, right? This is a perfect, like if everything was fine, perfect, nothing crazy, yeah. But then we added hydration stations, other things. Is that additional costs? We're going to find out eventually. We just only know the ESM contract. We don't know policing, sanitation. We don't know, now that these artists decide to stay, did they get an extra amount of money? Was there an incentive? What other things kept it? Because we went way past curfew. We went way past curfew. So what are the other costs and expenses to pull this off? Because if we did not, the city, this would have completely collapsed. A force of the majeure, an act of God, weather, right? Typically, that is the way in which a person can get out of a contract, right? COVID. That's a legal term, force of the majeure. I learned about this when Mr. Johnson and I got married 5 years ago because we had booked our wedding venue, which was the Penn Museum. This was in January 2020, before the pandemic took off. But we booked the date for October of 2021. So we always planned to get married October 21. And the beautiful thing is, our wedding was October 16th. We knew that was the date. We always wanted to have that date, everything about it, numerically, it was the date. And we kept our date. But there was a situation where when the pandemic happened, they were like, hey, given the circumstances, you can, potentially cancel your contract because we don't know when the museum's going to open again and vaccinations. It was a whole thing. Fortunately, that didn't impact our wedding date. Everything was fine. We didn't cancel anything or whatever. But I remember the term force majeure was the term that was used. And in these situations with contracts, you can get out of a contract based on weather, based on things not being honored, life happening, whatever. The mayor could not afford for this concert not to happen, because if it did not happen, we would have been out of $15.5 million. Now, one could argue, well, we had some of the acts. Yeah, we had Jill Scott, we had Seal, we had this country artist Jordan Davis and whatnot, not to relate with the Eagles player. We did have some people, but it wasn't the main acts. It wasn't it was not State Property. It was not Meek Mill. It was not Will Smith. It was not Christina Aguilera. I mean, Kathy Sledge from Sister Sledge. I mean, she, people like her, right? But a lot of the major acts had yet to perform at that point. So this would have been a flop. And so this is the ego part. They had to keep this concert, regardless of whether or not it was going to be on July 5th. They had to have the concert in spite of. And to be honest, there's a loss there because Christina, we don't know how much Christina got paid, but Christina pulled out. And honestly, normally when a big act pulls out, a lot of stuff falls in certain cases. In this case, the show had to go on in the wee hours of the morning. And so it did, way past bedtime. I mean, I think the show really got popping around 12:30 a.m. on July 5th. Fireworks was already scheduled for 11:30 p.m. initially, which was super late, but then ended up coming out around 2:30, 2:45 or something like that in the morning. Listen, if I lived on the Parkway around there, I would be Oh my goodness. I don't listen. I live in West Philly, University City here. I live around here. I stay listen, I like my quiet. Center City. My younger brother live in Center City. I let him have it. I let him have it. The young bull can have it. Okay. Big bro is in West, where it's best. And away from all the pests. Like I just don't got time. I don't. I'm at the age where I don't have it. I don't have it. But Parkway go through it. They can't win for losing. It's like Made in America left. They were happy about that. And then now they got all this. So the fireworks, happened. Essentially, this concert could not be canceled, even though logically it would have made sense, right? But things work in bizarre, mysterious ways. Folks that was out there told me that a lot of the folks that were there were FIFA folks, like FIFA people who has already been out late at night, prior to concerts. Like the FIFA crowd, I would say, saved this one Philly concert or whatever of the concert to salvage. They largely saved it. There were Philadelphians out there, but if you look in that crowd there was a lot of those soccer jerseys on, those football jerseys on. It was a certain crowd. Some people slipped in there with their kids. It was very interesting. I heard it wasn't too much extra with the security this go around compared to earlier. Earlier, it was a lot. This time around, it wasn't too much, because they just need to get the bodies there. And some people waited. Some people waited. Some people did not. Some people were already out in the streets. Said what free concert. They was in the area. They turned up. So it was a crowd that eventually got there at night, and it was an all night party. But most Philadelphians, I don't know who was up. Shout out to those NBC 10 anchors. I think it was Brittany Ship who was out there and her co-anchor. They were doing the best they could. They were doing the best they could. I think it was Shumshire, I think his name is. But they were trying, Black journalists is trying. Because I was like, what is happening? Fred Shropshire and I believe it was Brittany Ship. That was Brittany Ship was on air. No, that wasn't Brittany Ship. Let me not get my girls wrong. My anchor girls, I always get the talent wrong at NBC. Let me not do that. It was not Brittany Ship. I always like Jackie London. Let me put some respect on it. Jackie London and Fred Shropshire was doing it. That's how I know I watch NBC 10. I watch CBS 3. I'm a CBS 3 viewer. But I respect all my Black journalists doing their thing. But yes, it was Jackie London and Fred. They both did the live on air. And Brittany Ship not even on there anymore, NBC 10 apparently. See, that's how y'all don't watch it. I don't watch NBC 10. I watch Miguel sometimes. Shout out to Miguel. Telemundo, I watch them, but yeah, try. But I'm a CBS girl. But no, they were doing their thing, trying to keep their spirits up. Because NBC 10 had got, I guess, the contract to do the live concert. And I can imagine they were like, what the fuck? Like they, this moment, they had this exclusive airing of this concert. And they aired it, But I know, like, oh my goodness, local news. It's just gotta suck. Like, to be, shout out to all the journalists. Content creators and influencers, man, they hype, they stance. I'm no shade to them. It's just sometimes I think with news, right? There are people that are going to convey the overall sentiment of how people feel. And I felt like Jackie London and Fred, they were both on air, and you could hear in their voice and their whole energy. They were like, this is a lot. Like there was an energy with them that was very clear that, look, it was given, we here, is good. We trying to keep our spirit, but this is late. I know they are somewhere crashing out to sleep. And if they wanted to crash out in general, I would crash out too. But they probably going to sleep, like sleep. And in the administration, the people, the everyday people that you don't see that's working at park administration, my God, on today. I just hope that they sleep well because they didn't choose this concert. They didn't choose this inflated ego to work on. They didn't choose this. They listen, they're doing what they can do. They're getting paid. But it's just a lot. It is a lot. I can only imagine. Um, I just think we're in this interesting era now where, I mean, on a media standpoint, right? Media is doing the best they can. Journalists are doing the best that they can to just give you information. I think we're in a space now, though, where you have this online world of sycophants, right? Political stands, content creators, and folks that they're incentivized, paid in many ways to hype up things. And in the ways in which they hype up, they're in the business of delusion. And there's an economy for that, right? There's an economy for delusion. There's an economy where people say, "Oh, I just want to be positive," but we also got to be realistic, right? And I think when we put things in this positive, negative, like discourse, it's basic and it's not mature and it's not the honest way of assessing situations that involve people in government, right? Like there's nuances, right? So here's the nuance, right? For example, I think the fact that the concert happened for those people who was still up to see it might have been enriching, right? That the whole day didn't go in vain, right? It's good for them. The people that really wanted to stay up late and see the show willingly, enthusiastically, good. Like it must have been a great night out. You made the best of a night that was chaotic. That's good, right? Good. But that's not the whole story. Right? That's one part of it, and it's legit, right? The people who went out that night probably had a great time. Great time. And if you don't live in Philadelphia and you don't got to deal with the consequences of this, and you came in for FIFA and you're a tourist, this city must be lit for you right now. Because I'm telling you, Philadelphia is pulling out the red carpet for a bunch of people that don't live here. And we are showing our ass and we are showing out. And we got people out here hyped because this is an economic experiment at this point. This is literally not a democratic experiment. This is an economic experiment, like to figure out like how to boost hype. So the city is literally making this for other people because actual Philadelphians who are not on city payroll, who are not in the political class, because I need to be very clear about this, because the political class likes to act like they are the reflective of Philadelphia. They're not. And so who is the political class? Story time. The political class is elected officials, their immediate family members, their political acolytes, their staffers, their consultants, their campaign team. That's largely the political class. And this is not about people who got money, who rich. There are people in the political class that are not, but these are the people who financially, socially, and politically benefit largely from the electeds in this city. So if you are a staffer elected official, you are an immediate family member of an elected official, you are a consultant, you have a contract with the city this way, you have a political investment that will blind you sometimes from common sense and reality. And I get it because you have an incentive to be the way that you are, right? And in many ways, like I'm a part of the political class as a journalist because I cover it, right? So I recognize it. I'm not, everybody operates differently in it, but I'm in it because I have access to these elected officials in this type of way. Now, not for my own self-benefit, but I do in the ways in which I can cover them, can spark influence. Like I understand it. And I understand a lot of people who are in the political class and how it operates, right? Some people operate in it through profession. Some people operate it through trade and relative, right? I find personally the most annoying people are the ones who are like the sycophants who benefit on my cousin, my sister, my brother, my dad, the Nepo babies of it all who benefits from that. Those are the ones that annoy me the most because like, where's your merit? in this, but I digress. But there's various ways that the political class operate. And, I'm somebody that's in the political class. And so I am very mindful that I don't convey my access to these elected officials as a norm, right? So when someone says something like, look, I've been trying to call council member so-and-so, so-and-so, they won't pick up my phone call. I don't go, oh, well, you should just DM them and they'll talk to you. Nah, like I can text an elected official and get a response. Like I have the mayor's cell phone number in my phone. I have her senior staff in my phone. I have the senator, a U.S. senator in my number. I have a congressperson. I have U.S. congresspeople in my phone. I have people who have formerly worked for the White House in my phone. Like, I have that, right? And so I'm never going to act as if my circumstances are relatable or as attainable as other people. And that's one of the most frustrating things that I see happen online, where people who are in the political class try to talk down or try to talk dismissive to people that are. And they dismiss their complaints, their frustrations, their lack of access to information and resources. They simply try to act like it is very simple if you all just did this and did that. And it's like, that's not true. Like, as somebody who got a career being a political journalist, before I did that, I didn't have the access. I didn't know how to get the information no, I did not know that. And government makes it hard for regular everyday people to know that information. That is why I do the work that I do, so that folks can get an inside view and make smart decisions. And that's why politicians and their sycophants hate me, because they spend so much time trying to create narratives that do not fully reflect the circumstances and issues of everyday people. Ding, 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 ding. Message. So, done this, know this. And there's certain people that I will see online and in public that will say certain things, engage. And I'm like, you have a contract with the city. Please sit the fuck down. You live next door to the mayor. Please sit the fuck down. You're related to an elected official who is besties or is in political relationship with the mayor. Please sit the fuck down. I could go down the list. And I just wish people would be honest about that, or just don't argue with everyday people if you're not going to engage in good faith. Too many people operate in a very misleading way with folks that have legitimate concerns. They will position themselves like they're like I'm just like you. I'm just a regular person, just starting a conversation about these issues. Look at my real videos where I'm explaining these things, and I'm not somehow, not going to disclose my contracts that I have with certain folks and relationships I have with certain elected officials that grant me access. And I'm just going to act like I'm just, someone who just likes to do data research. Come on. And there's a lot of that dishonesty. And it's just like, let's be real. Like, when my husband was a communications director for a city council member, I was very clear. Like, people knew that. But you know what was very clear about me? I had a career before my husband had worked in politics. He doesn't work in politics anymore, thank God. But when he did, I was very clear. Yeah, my husband is a comms director for this person. Never, ever acted like my voice wasn't my own voice. There were things I reported on and I covered, and that person hated me at the time at certain moments, like was upset, was annoyed. But guess what? I had my own voice. I had my own identity. And you could never assume that I was going to compromise my reporting and my journalistic integrity for any relationship, because that was the work that I was doing before. And that's the work that I continue to do after. And my husband respected that. And no one ever questioned that, because I kept it 100. Some of these people out here are just not being honest. They're not being honest. They're not being honest about what their spouses did or who their spouse connected to and how they show up in these certain ways. They're not transparent about how their family members are connected and how much they get paid, what their company gets paid. And when you look at campaign finance reports, who's paying them? Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of people not being honest in that way. I can tell y'all, I don't get a damn dime from any elected official or any political campaign. Okay, progressives can't stand me sometimes. Moderates, centrists, Republicans, Democrats, they all don't like me. DSA don't like me sometimes. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But that's because I do my job. I just tell it how I see it, you know? And that matters. And I think right now what we're seeing is a lot of people that are just invested in projecting a idea of something that isn't necessarily fully there. So I'll just keep it 1,000. For those people who went to the concert and enjoyed themselves, good for you. And I really mean that. Good for you. Like, I'm happy you was able to find something entertaining throughout all of the things, right? I think that the city pulling the concert off, I guess is good. I struggle with that because it's like, at what cost? But I guess it wasn't a total bust. So that is a good thing. That it wasn't just a total waste of $15.5 million and counting. I guess. But I'm still thinking about so many other things. So many other things come to my mind right now. For starters, while I can admire the ambition to do a concert for the 250th, to do one where the city took full control and to frame it slightly, because I know politics and I know how marketing and branding is. The mayor can deny it all she wants, but to use your campaign slogan as a part of the concert, to brand it in that way, is so politically fucked up. It's tacky. It's tacky. It's tacky. Like, you ran for office, for mayor, with that. You're about to run for re-election next spring. You've branded a concert that's supposed to be bigger than your administration and yourself with your campaign slogan. That's tacky. That's just tacky. It's tasteless. And I can say that now. It's tasteless. It's just not it's not smart. It's just not a good thing to do. I get when people want to create policies, right? One Philly, you brand something like a policy from your political agenda, but a concert that would be happening with or without your administration, because any mayor who would have been the mayor would have been tasked with doing something, to frame it with your political slogan the year before you run for re-election. It's just very egotistical. It just is. It just is. I just feel like, to use taxpayers' dollars, not your campaign dollars, to brand a concert for the public, for the 4th of July, for the 250th, with your campaign slogan. I just think of someone else who's done that in recent years in the White House, and we all agreed that that was tacky to do something like that. Somehow we just, I don't know, identity politics, I don't know, political bias. Maybe we don't care as much, I guess, for some people, right? I just think I'm tired of Democrats in general doing similar things as problematic Republicans and then going, well, we're not them, so then that makes it okay. So because you're not Trump, it makes it okay. Because you're not a Republican, we're supposed to be okay with it. Because you're not the worst, but you're not striving to be the best. Because this is not striving to be the best behavior. Because just because you're not striving to be the worst, don't mean you're striving to be the best. And I think that that is the theme of what I'm recognizing this administration, but it speaks to a larger theme around moderate centrist Democrats, where so often they're not striving to be the best they can be. They just don't want to be the worst, which makes us fall into these conversations of lesser of evils because we're often stuck with, well, it could have been worse. Sure, but why can't we look at what could be best? There are several things that could have made this entire situation logistically best. Whenever I end my podcast episodes, I always say be well and be best. I don't say be lesser of the evil. I say be best. It's a joke on somebody else who said it, but I also tell folks that be best because that's what we should strive to be. We should strive to be our best. And I just feel like too often what we get from the politicians on the local ground, often in Philadelphia, is people not trying to be the worst, but they're damn sure not trying to be the best. Because is that the best thing to do? Is that the best move to do, right? To take a concert that is bigger than your administration, bigger than you, and slap your campaign slogan on it as a way to mark yourself. Because then the reality goes that when you brand something in such a way that it is your slogan, then it becomes reflective of you and your values and your priorities. This concert was a hot ass mess. Now it's not a reflection of Philadelphia, or it's a reflection of you. It's a reflection of your administration. It's a reflection of what won Philadelphia, this whole ideology. Like, what does this mean? It's a reflection of that. And in many ways, I wonder that this is exactly the kind of concert that this administration put together. It's actually symbolic in many ways. Because if Wow Wow Welcome America did this concert under these circumstances, this would have ran differently. I believe that. I believe it would have been ran differently. It would have not been the same way. Listen, I've been around the block. I've seen a bunch of things. People talk about whether this, whether that, all that. Yeah. Yeah, weather is crazy. But you know what is crazier? Is administration that literally saw this train wreck coming and basically knew they was going to have to push through it so that they did not have to forfeit a contract that, quite frankly, was bloated, cost the city millions of dollars that could have went to other things. And yeah, let's go there. I think for me, the hardest thing that I think a lot of Philadelphians are dealing with right now, and again, the political class won't get it because they're just happy to be on the payroll, happy to be connected, happy to get the VIP access to the rooms, happy to get the cheap chicken dinners, happy to get the free tickets, happy to get the selfies. I get it. Like, I get it. This isn't for you. But to my Philadelphians and those listening out there who understand this, one of the things that has been the hardest to observe in this administration is the resources that we could be using. Like I understand that the budget has money allocated for different things at different times, but it's tough, right? When you hear about 17 schools closing, and I'm not saying all the schools should have been open, but families are going to be impacted by that. And the school district, we're taught to make a tough decision. Got it, right? DC 33, it just seems like the 4th of July and Mayor Cheryl Parker don't get along. It just seems like every 4th of July, there's always some mess. You know, always a strike too, because PECO on strike right now. Solidarity for those workers, right? PECO on strike right now. This time a year ago, we had DC 33. It was hot as hell. And a mayor, ironically, who was on a platform yelling at us, telling us how she was not going to apologize. Wait. Sorry. Yeah, 2 speeches, 2 times, right? She was in the heat in the summer of 2025, telling us how she was not going to apologize for making fiscal decisions, being fiscally responsible, and justifying why she couldn't give DC 33 the pay that they deserved, in my opinion. She said she had to be fiscally responsible. She said that, all the numbers, the math, all the things, she had to do that. And she wasn't going to do it. And she was stern about that. She had the black cap on and she wore a black shirt in the scorching heat. And she was, you know, skirmishing. She was scrimmaging. She was just frustrated. Frustrated. She was, frustrated about this. It was hot. And she was on a podium and she was defending, her decision. Rightfully so. And so at that time, we were told, look, she had to make a fiscal responsible decision. Like, this is about money. They don't got that kind of money. So we thought. So then here we are a year later, and she's in the heat again. And she's saying that she will not apologize for how much money she spent for this concert. So history's repeating itself, but in a different way. Last year, she didn't have money for DC 33, and she was not going to apologize for being fiscally responsible with that decision. A year later, she is being unapologetic and not apologizing for how much she wanted to spend for this concert. What has happened in the past year? We almost could have been taxed on Uber rides and Amazon deliveries and hotels and everything to pay for things that she claimed we didn't have money for. But meanwhile, we got money for this concert and maybe other things. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have invested more into this concert, but where are these partners at? Where are these sponsors at? Where are these partners? Like, Wawa was right there. Why did you not let Wawa just do it and boosted what they had going on? Like, oh, I know why. Because if Wawa did the concert, Wawa would have had the recognition, the labeling, and the branding. It would have been the Wawa Welcome America 4th of July 250 concert. It would have not been Mayor Sherelle Parker's One Philly. She could have been able to brand it the way she wanted to. And so in many ways, she wanted this to be hers. She wanted the credit. She wanted the risk, the reward. She wanted this to be under the city's umbrella because the city is desperate for a win. I had a moment, y'all. I thought, listen, if the FIFA, they was playing off of FIFA. We don't know the full economic impact, but the city was on a move, right? The goal was that, look, there was all this controversy, but if everybody partied and they vibed out, that they would just be in high spirits. It's not happening like that. This concert is going to get different reactions. There's going to be different spins because I got to wrap up, right? I got to wrap up. This is a special edition episode. It's not the full-fledged episode. I will give y'all updates on the season 11 premiere because I was not expecting to do a special, well, kind of did, but I was thinking maybe I wouldn't have to. But I want to say this. In the next couple of days, you're going to hear different takes on this from people. The sycophants, the political class will definitely shower down on her with love, with absolute adulation and praise to say, look at the mayor, who stuck with it in spite of the haters, because everybody's a hater. They're going to look at the haters, right? Because that's where we are, right? It's she proved them wrong. She did the concert, and they're going to say it's tough being mayor. And it is tough being mayor. They're going to say it's tough being mayor. She stuck it out. Things are not perfect. And they're going to blame Mother Nature. They are. They're going to blame the weather. They're going to say things happened and the city was strong and pushed through. That's how they're going to frame it. They're going to have those talking points. There's going to be something in the vein of that in spite of the challenges, the city pushed through. And that's one way of looking at it. But then there are other people that's going to say, respectfully, that perhaps this is the mess that the city made, and maybe the city should get out of the concert producing business. Like maybe we should just not do concerts. Like, can we just not do that anymore? Like, can we just let this be? Because part of me just wants July 4th. I just want this like in the back window. Like, personally, I want this out the back window. I don't want to think about this personally because I just feel like, yikes. Like, in my opinion, that's just where I'm at. I'm like, I just would just want this to be in the back window of all this. But Philly is going to Philly. And we're in an interesting time. We're in an interesting time. So buckle your seatbelts. We're in for a bumpy ride. July is coming in hot. Hot. And there's going to be a lot of debate. There's going to be a lot of discourse. But I just think my takeaway, long story short, let's not play any more concerts. Let's let that be the people that do it. Why? Don't leave. Like, stick with us. Just do next year's concert. We're gonna forget about what happened this year. Because Philly and concerts just ain't. We're not good at it. The city is not good. The city's not good at trying to do sports arenas deals. We're just not good at that kind of stuff. Like, let's just let the pros do what they do. Let's focus on raising revenue for our schools. City council, knock knock, who's there? Can y'all help with that? So the park administration doesn't feel like they got to keep finding ways to tax us. Can you all look in y'all budget and work with this administration? Can city council, can everybody do their jobs and stop trying to be more than what they are, or do things that's not in their wheelhouse? How about that? Just some advice, some feedback. Listen to common sense. I know they're not going to, but like, listen to different voices and opinions, not just the yes people. Yeah. And listen to your constituents. Like listen to people that's not financially benefiting off of you. Like, listen to actual everyday Philadelphians, what they care about and what they want. Like, I think people wanted a concert, but they would have preferred for it to be sponsored. I don't think people is not okay with the city taking it over and spending $15 million, because then the big global pop superstar Christina Aguilera that y'all, really boasted on this timeline, she's not even able to perform. She didn't perform. And so it's like, it's been a very bumpy 4th of July. I think we're all ready for it to go. I think after Kirk Franklin was ready to rumble and he couldn't perform, it was just like, JP, are you with me? Like, GP, are you with me? Like, yeah, it's been some GP, are you with me? Like, it's been a time. And I just think this is an opportunity for the park administration to do a reset. Like, the administration, everybody needs to sit down. Like, go on a retreat. Sit down. Be honest. Do this differently. Because the weird conversations right now is people debating whether or not she's going to have one term or not, which I just feel like it is what it is with that. But the fact that that's like even the conversation, and the response from the sycophants are, well, who's going to run against her? It's like, well, is that the response you want, rather than, I guess they can't lie, but I would say if I was in a position to run for re-election for something, I wouldn't want people framing it as, well, who gonna be able to run, and who, like, it should be more of like, this person does not deserve a challenger, to be honest. Like, they've done such a good job. I'm talking hypothetically. Let me be very clear. Hypothetically, it should be what people should be saying about you. Your supporters should be saying things like, they've done such a good job that I don't understand why anybody would run against them. Like, that would be foolish. Like, they have done so much good things. They're so popular. They're so liked that anybody who would challenge them would just be wasting money and time. It shouldn't be, well, who's going to actually step up and do it? well, who could actually win as viable to do? Like, it's a very like, you're having a strategic conversation when it should be a merit conversation. Like, are you telling me that if somebody had enough money, they could run and beat the person that you like? Like, are we like, we're talking in terms of money when it should be money or no money, my person is good. Like, I feel like that's the attitude that should be happening. But they can't say that because there's been so many L's. And they keep, it's been interesting. It's been fascinating. And like, I'm writing a whole book about this. My second book is called Divided We Stand, How Stand Culture Evolved into Socio-Political Chaos. Like, I've been deep into this type of phenomenon for quite some time. And looking at this on a local level, it's just been fascinating to watch it because people have a parasocial relationship with politicians in a way that makes them non-receptive. Everything is either you are a lover or a hater. You're put in a binary. Nobody can give fair critique. That is just fair critique. Like, I didn't like something. I didn't think this was good. You know, somehow that becomes an embodiment of people's identities and all the things. You know, next thing you know, you're attacking Black women. Next thing you know, you're sexist. Next thing you know, where was all this for? You know, I'm going to say this about my generation. I'm talking about millennials and Gen Zers, right? Let me say this about the younger generation. There are so many people, older folks, that will say, where was all this for the other mayors? Sweetheart, we were not paying taxes with a lot of these other mayors. Now, Kenny, we dealt with Kenny, but many of us, when you go back to Nutter and further, a lot of us were either just started to vote, had not fully economically developed yet to be able to really be engaged in the political process in a way that we could be now. And also some of us was just not in that timeline. Like, we were not. Many people, like when you talking about Nutter, for example, I was like 21 years old when Nutter was mayor. Yeah, I was like 21, 22. I was just beginning to like adult, like go to bars, like have a full adult experience. I did have some heat for Nutter, but I can see people my age, if we know adults and folks, they're not having the same level of education like that they have about the political system and governing, right? Now, fast forward, I'm going to be 35 later this year. A lot of my fellow millennials, we're now at the age where we have kids, we're married, we are dealing with expenses and things and cost of life. We are now in a space where we're seeing a mayor make decisions that are impacting us in a different way than those old mayors that y'all want us to go back and address are. And so I see people like use words I use the wrong way, but let's be fair, let's be clear. It is intellectually dishonest to hold a younger generation responsible with critiquing previous politicians that did not have the same direct impact on their day-to-day lives in the same way. Like, I was on Obamacare when Nutter was mayor. So in other words, I wasn't paying for health insurance. I was on my parents' health insurance, okay? I wasn't having the same cost of living expenses and things that I currently have now. So in other words, don't be mad at me because my generation is choosing at a more younger age to be more publicly critical because we also have tools to be, right? Like social media was not the way it is today 10, 15 something years ago. Like, I just feel like people just are misdirecting their anger on folks in ways that is just not actually thoughtful, mature, and fair, to be honest, right? So you cannot blame millennials and Gen Zers who are now in a space of liveliness to engage with politicians. Like, you can't say, where was all this energy for Bush? Child, we were like 12, like you just can't. We are not having smoke for Rendell. We were not at an age where we can even vote during Rendell. We're not able to talk about Mayor Street We were not at the age to fully engage with Mayor Street in the same way that we can with Mayor Parker. It is what it is. People had critiques for, Kenny, but again, there is a different experience. And look, some of you all could have did that when y'all were at the age to do it. Some of y'all, when y'all were 35, weren't saying anything about Kenny. Some of y'all were 35, 33, not saying anything about Nutter when y'all had the ability to. We're not those people. We were not there. We would have if we could. And for people like me, I was. But we also were not the larger voting population at that point. We also did not have the platforms, and we were not as visible, as prominent as we are now. So I just feel like, Gen Xers, y'all should have that discussion amongst yourselves. Maybe have it with the older millennials in their 40s, early 40s, maybe. But you can't talk to my 30 something millennials, us early 30s. You can't talk to us about that. And you damn sure shouldn't be talking to Gen Zers about that. I think the timeline is off. Because we're not just speaking about the mayor. We're also talking about this president. We're also talking about our current governor. We're also looking at other mayors and what they're doing across the country. And we're taking notes and we're making comparisons, observations. I mean, do y'all want us to be civically engaged or not? Like, I just don't get it. Or is it because it's the person you like? So you want us to like them? There was a poll recently that was done on Mayor Cheryl Parker's popularity, and it showed that under 45 largely was not in favor of her administration. And those much older, past 45 in their 60s, had a very more positive view of her performance. Now, the larger voting population of Philadelphia is under 45 by numbers. However, we don't vote as much as we should. Most older voters are showing up to the polls, and they have a huge sway over the electorate, right? Over how the outcome of the election will be. If millennials and Gen Zers actually use their voter strength, like if we actually voted and showed up to the polls the way we should, we could actually change the outcome of an election, but we could also make a mayor prioritize us in a way that she has not. We have the power. We have the actual power to change the political outcome of our circumstances if we actually used our votes. And I wonder, because I'm looking at what's going on in New York, I'm looking at what's going on in Baltimore, I'm looking at what's going on in DC, that what we just saw in this congressional race in Philadelphia, the younger voters are beginning to show up in precincts and areas where they normally don't. And we're shaking the table in a way, but we're not doing as much. The voter turnout is not as high as it can be. But what if? And so I wonder, all these people that are frustrated on social media about the state of things, young people that are literally expressing themselves about how they feel about the administration, if they took themselves to the polls and showed up in numbers, will this be the election to show that outcome and difference? There is something happening, Philadelphia. Wake up, because I see it. I feel it. And there's something different about this moment, and I think people are underestimating it. Just like how people underestimated Chris Rabb. I think there's a cynicism that makes you think that the system is so broken that it's going to remain broken. But then there are these moments where you're just like, And I've just been observing for the past couple of months. It's coming to Philly. It's coming to Philly. And I don't know how it's going to hit. It may not hit the mayor's race, but it's going to impact city council. There is going to be a shake. There is going to be a shake. The momentum is saying, Philly, something's coming. And if you ignore the moment, if you keep staying, because there's some people that see it too, but they're in denial because they really want to hold on to a system that's broken that benefits them. They know it's flawed. They're not stupid, but they like, hey, what can I do? It's okay. You don't know what to do. But there are people that are about to figure that out. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it. And I think, I don't know, like, there's always there's something You can smell it in the air. You really can. There is a tension that has been manifesting itself. And I think the congressional race, I think the way these taxes went down, like stuff is just not sticking. People are fed up. They're not as loud as they can be, but they're making enough noise. And I always tell people, when people feel like they're completely helpless and hopeless, and they don't feel like anything is going their way, they act out. And they do. They really do. They act out. And I think we're in a moment right now where folks are going to continue to act out. We're seeing so many strikes. We're seeing so many protests. We're seeing so many people speak out and whistleblow in ways that they don't typically do. But this 250th year in American democracy got people at a place where things are boiling. Things are boiling. Things that we were told is not possible, can't happen, are happening. New York City, right? This budget under, Mayor Zohran Mamdani in New York City. First of all, New York elected a 34-year-old Muslim who identifies as a democratic socialist in the most powerful city in America, and arguably one of the most powerful cities in the world. And they did that. And he got voters out that you could never imagine. And he turned around a year later and got 2 Democratic socialists elected, another progressive, knocked out 2 incumbents, in congressional seats. They have just flattened the police budget. They're not doing any new hires for the NYPD. They're not going to add any more new officers this year. They have put a stop at it this year in the budget. Police, New York City. These are things that we were told could not happen. This mayor has put in rent freeze. Rent freeze. These are things we were told could not happen, won't happen, don't make sense, can't be doable. Folks wouldn't do that. Unions wouldn't. And it's happening. And people will say, oh, that's New York. Yeah. But y'all, when people see what they think is the impossible possible, the imagination begins to expand. They begin to demand more. They begin to say, why not? And they're willing to do so. That's all I'm going to say. I can go on and on. But when I think about this concert, and I think about the money that was spent for this concert, it was not worth it. It was not. Sorry. It was not worth it. And we know it's going to be way more than $15.5 million. We all going to wait for that price tag. I wouldn't be surprised if it's over $20 million. I can't confirm that number, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's over $20 million. I wouldn't be surprised. It's going to be high, y'all. And we're going to look back and go, this was a concert that many families could not fully enjoy. It was too hot. It was too wet. It was too late. It was a lot of things. This was just not the best use of taxpayers' dollars. But some people may have enjoyed it. So that's everything. I am going to not sing Spin That, my rendition. That was a once-in-a-lifetime moment. You can listen to that parody. It was a parody. And I'm going to relax. I'm going to relax. I'm going to relax and enjoy the rest of my vacation. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.